To Turkey now, where President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has pressed ahead with a widely criticized plan to cut its key interest rate for a fourth time in a row. This as Turkey's currency, the lira, hits a new all-time low against the US dollar. Erdogan hopes his move will bring down inflation, which has seen the cost of basic goods soar, and many people struggle to make ends meet. DW correspondent Julia Han has this report from Istanbul.
The only food Hayriye Çelik can prepare for her family is eggs and tomatoes. She can't afford more, and sometimes she can't even afford that. We have to save on bread now because it has become so expensive. Sometimes I go to bed hungry. I don't eat, so at least my children won't starve. The Çeliks have an income of roughly 3,000 Turkish liras a month from Hayriye's husband's job. That's the equivalent of around 180 euros. It has always been very little money for a family of four, but now it's no longer enough to make ends meet. Food prices and the cost of electricity, heating and water have soared so much that Hayriye is struggling to pay her bills. I have debts everywhere. By the end of the month, all our money is gone and we have nothing left. Hayriye Çelik is not alone. Double-digit inflation and a crashing currency are turning the incomes and savings of millions of Turks to dust. The lira has lost 50% of its value against the dollar since the beginning of the year, more than almost any other currency. Discontent is growing. In recent weeks, demonstrators took to the streets in Istanbul and Ankara. They called for the government to resign. Many lay the blame for Turkey's currency crisis on President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Every time he pressures the country's central bank and calls for interest rate cuts, the lira plummets even further. Economists warn inflation is spiraling out of control, and Turkish consumers are the ones who literally have to pay the price. I just paid 200 liras, but only got a few kilograms of fruit, a pack of eggs and 1 kilo of cheese. That's shameful. Those in power say that they have a plan for our country, but I don't see it. We ordinary people are suffering.
I just want to get out of Turkey. I don't see a future here. The economy is very bad. Inflation is way too high.
But President Erdogan holds the unconventional view that lower interest rates fight inflation. And despite the lira crashing, shows no sign of changing his position.
What we're doing might be politically very risky, but it's the right plan for our country and our nation.
Hayriye Çelik doesn't know much about interest rates and inflation. She says she has no way of knowing which plan is the right one. But one thing she knows for sure. With money that is worth less and less, she can't provide for her family.
So let's get more on this story from Can Selçuklu. He is an analyst at the EDM think tank in Istanbul, Turkey. A warm welcome, Can. We're seeing a surge in inflation around the world right now, but almost nowhere as dramatically as in Turkey. Why is that?
Well, a couple of reasons, because, Turkey is diverging significantly in its policy choice, in its monetary policy choice when it comes to dealing with these, macroeconomic issues. I think that's number one reason why the inflation surge in Turkey is quite different and significant than elsewhere in the world.
And those different policy choices, critics say that President Erdogan is putting pressure on his country's central bank, and replacing his finance ministers is only making things worse. Can you explain his strategy?
Well, first of all, President Erdogan and his current economic management team has fundamentally believe that high interest rates cause inflation rather than what conventional wisdom tells us, which is the vice versa. Now, this new economic model that has been introduced aims to, aims at lower interest rates, a depreciated lira, in order to boost exports, boost the construction sector and the tourism sector in an attempt to close the current account deficit, whereby, the cash problem of Turkey will be resolved, and that surplus will go into investment, and which will, value the lira and bring down inflation, which, many economists, including myself, find rather a difficult path towards lowering inflation.
Indeed, we saw in our report just now how prices for food and energy have soared to the point where even middle-income families are struggling. After years of what has been progress in Turkey in reducing poverty, is it fair to say that Erdogan's policies are reversing those hard-earned gains?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, look, Turkey has been experiencing macroeconomic issues since August 2018. And we are almost entering our third year whereby Turkey has double-digit unemployment and double-digit inflation. So the households, middle income and lower income, and also, the entire households, I would say, are experiencing a continued loss of revenue as well as continued loss of purchasing power. Right now, the volatility is at a point where producers are finding it, of goods and services, are finding it very difficult to price their products. I mean, at the retail level, prices are set almost on a daily basis, and longer-term trade has almost come to a stop because it's been very difficult for traders to price their inputs and their final products.
Can Selçuklu, we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on DW News.
My pleasure.